EECMS, your Virtual Employment Equity Compliance Management Service.
Thank you, and a very welcome to everyone attending here today. As mentioned, my name is Pieter. I'm from a company called EECMS, a company ensuring that all our clients are in compliance with the employment equity legislation. Okay, so as mentioned, employment equity, the information and training session on the summary of the Employment Equity Act number 55 of 1998. Okay, so let's start. The summary of the Employment Equity Act. Ladies and gents, colleagues, what we're going to do, I will have a presentation on the employment equity legislation, whereafter Mr. Charles Kinnear will have a discussion on the COVID, in other words, basically the impact on employer as well as employees. And then we also have a sister, a nurse, that will have an introduction on her personal experience pertaining to the COVID-19. Purpose of the Act. It's to achieve equity in the workplace by promoting equal opportunity and fair treatment in employment through the elimination of unfair discrimination. Also to implement affirmative action measures to redress the disadvantages in employment of designated groups. Okay, so designated groups include the following. It's all your African males and females, including your colored males and females, as well as Indian males and females. Also includes white females. Okay, please bear in mind, pertaining to the employment equity legislation, white females are still included, as well as all your disabled staff. We are then there also including your white male disabled staff. I see there's a couple of questions coming through. What we will do is after this session, we will have a Q&A session where everyone will be able to ask their questions. Designated groups exclude the following: so white males and foreign nationals. Ladies and gents, colleagues, the purpose of the Act is not to fire your white males. Okay, it's imperative to understand that it is rather to see that should a white male maybe retire in the next 3 or 4 years, what the company can do to see that a designated person, in terms of your highest underrepresented races and genders, are then uplifted into that level. Okay, so it's not firing and or getting rid of your white males. Who needs to comply? All companies employing 50 or more people need to comply with the Employment Equity Act number 55 of 1998. You can also volunteer to become a designated employer. And on top of that, please bear in mind, should you employ less than 50 employees, you need to verify the industry that you operate in, verify your turnover, and if your turnover is above the various industries thresholds, then you are also deemed a designated employer. In other words, if you operate, as an example, in the agri, in other words, you operate a farm and you have 10 employees, but your turnover is more than 6 million rand per annum, you are also deemed a designated employer. Mining and quarrying, 22.5 million, manufacturing, 30 million, construction, 15, retail, 45, wholesale, 75, etc. This presentation will also be made available on our website and other platforms. I will give you the relevant website addresses. Okay, still on the summary of the Act, provision of unfair discrimination. No person may unfairly discriminate against an employee in any policy or in practice. Okay, discrimination can be based on the following grounds: race, gender, pregnancy, marital status. You can go down age, disability, religion, HIV status, and the list goes on. Medical testing. Medical testing is permissible only when legislation requires it or when it's justifiable for various reasons. Various reasons including as per the health, safety and environmental legislation. In other words, let's assume you work underground in a mine. You will receive a red card, and that red card basically boils down to following: pregnant women are not allowed to work underground. You need to undergo lung capacity tests, etc., etc. That is permissible. HIV testing, on the other hand, is completely prohibited unless it's determined to be justifiable by the Labour Court. Okay, typical examples there: the medical industry, nurses, paramedics. Those employees could be required to undergo regular HIV testing. And so how does it work? You have the Department of Employment and Labour. Ladies and gents, remember, the DOL, Department of Labour, changed to the DEL last year. So now it's the Department of Employment and Labour. So the DEL has numerous inspectors. Those labour inspectors go out to companies, they visit them, and they see and or verify whether companies are in compliance with the relevant legislation pertaining to employment equity. Then they can do either one of three things. Number one, if they find, the inspector finds that your company is not in compliance with the Act, the inspector can either give you an undertaking to comply, asking you and or providing you with a 14-day notice of please get the following in order, or they can provide you with a compliance order allowing you 60 days to get your house in order. And then, should you not have an employment equity plan, the Department of Employment and Labour inspector can refer your company to the Labour Court immediately. Should you not have an EAP analysis in the form of the EA12 document, the inspector can refer your company to the Labour Court immediately. And or should you not have submitted your EA2 and 4 reports to the DEL through the online portal, it could be an immediate referral to the Labour Court. Review by the Director General. Bottom line, the Director General and the inspectors have the authority to enter your premises and request anything pertaining to employment equity. Okay, they can even, there might be a couple of companies out of the just about 400 companies that join. They can even have interviews with your committee members, asking them, you know what, ladies and gents, is there really substance of a legal form, or do you just have a plan but you do not really outlive it, you do not really discuss it, you do not really monitor it? Okay, then the Labour Court has the power to make any appropriate orders, award compensation, or impose penalties. Penalties for section 16 and 17, 19, 20, 21, it goes down to 44B. I will get to what those penalties mean, or those sections are. Penalties starting at 1.5 million rand for non-compliance. If your company has no previous contravention of the Employment Equity Act for section 16, 17, 19, etc., that's 1.5 million rand. On top of that, colleagues, if you also do not comply with section 20 being an EE plan, or 21 being your submissions, 23 and 44B, it could result in an additional 1.5 million or 2% of turnover. Okay, so just about a year or two ago, what happened? There were 21 companies that received the steep penalties, and the previous Minister of Labour, Merwe, realized at the end of the day that companies actually budget for these penalties. So Bob's your uncle. Let's look at a penalty. No previous contravention of the Act. You are looking at least 3 million rand. And Bob's your uncle, there's a check. We write out the check, 3 million rand, and there we go. The buck doesn't stop there. The Department of Employment and Labour can go back to your company the next year. If you have one previous contravention for the same provision, it is an additional 1.8 million plus 1.8 or 4% of turnover. So it's fine. Let's write another check of 3.6 million rand. They will be back for an additional 2.1 plus 2.1 or 6% of turnover. They will be back 2.4 plus 2.4, 8% of turnover, ending in a possible 5.4 million or 10% of turnover, the highest of. Okay, so let's look at the sections. Section 13 of the Act stipulates that designated employers, you will have to implement affirmative action measures for designated groups to achieve equity. You have to consult with your employees as per section 16, and that results in your employment equity committee. I will get to that. You have to consult with your committee when you prepare your economically active population analysis and when you prepare your EE plan. I will get to that as well. Section 15 of the Act stipulates that designated employers will have to implement affirmative action measures intended to ensure that suitably qualified employees from designated groups have equal opportunity and are equitably represented on all occupational levels. Bottom line, colleagues, is the following. Gone are the days where your non-designated employees are on your higher management levels, being top management, senior management, middle management, etc. Okay, as per section 15, your company needs to strive to see that you have equal opportunity between African, Indian, colored, and white employees in the various occupational levels, being top management, senior management, middle management, junior management. As far as the EIP statistics go, in other words, the economically active population. Section 16 and 17, designated employers need to take reasonable steps to consult with representatives of employees representing the interests of the workforce when you do your EIP analysis and your HR policies, and also when you prepare your EE plan. Okay, it's not in my presentation. You can please make a note of the following. Please take pen and paper, make note of the following. Your EE committee, the constituency of your EE committee needs to be as follows. You have to have a representative on senior management. That senior manager will represent senior managers in your company. You then have to have a representative on middle management representing the middle managers. You also have to have a junior manager representing junior management, a semi-skilled person representing the semi-skilled, and an unskilled representing the unskilled. Okay, colleagues, it's imperative to note the following. On top of that, it's not allowed to be the same person. You have to have an additional African male representing African males, and an additional colored male representing colored males, Indian male representing Indian males, white male representing white males, and the same goes for females. African female representing African females, colored female representing colored females, Indian female representing Indian females, and a white female representing white females. Should your company employ disabled, you also need to have at least one disabled person in your committee. And then, of course, if you are unionized, you will need to have a union representative and or shop steward in your committee. Okay, that being said, remember, of course, if your company does not employ, let's assume, as an example, you don't employ any Indian males, by default, you will not have an Indian male in your committee. Okay, you don't need to appoint an Indian male to have an Indian male in your committee. If you do not employ any Indian males, by default, you will not have an Indian male in your committee. Out of the 62 DG reviews we've done the past year and a half, we found that if the constituency of your committee is not 100% in order, the inspector will tell you it is as if you have done nothing, resuscitate your committee, and redo everything. So please, ladies and gents, colleagues, ensure that your committee is 100% in compliance. Section 18. Designated employers need to disclose relevant information to the consulting parties, being the CEO, the EE manager, the committee, and the employees when you engage in consultation. Section 19. Designated employers need to conduct an analysis of your policies, your practices, your procedures, as well as your working environment. Then your committee will need to identify barriers that adversely affect people from designated groups, and then, of course, work on those barriers and affirmative action measures on how those barriers will be overcome. If you look at your EI2 report every year when your company submit those reports, you will find there's 23 possible categories. We call that the qualitative analysis, starting from recruitment procedures, advertising positions, whether you give your committee time off to meet, whether you have an EE manager, etc., etc. That's deemed a qualitative analysis. Then you also need to have a quantitative analysis. Quantitative meaning the following. You need to verify the EIP statistics, economically active population. Okay, so just to give you an example, the latest statistic for African male is 42.8%. Okay, so what the Department of Employment and Labour would love companies to do is to try their best to, from top management to unskilled, employ the 42.8% African males in each occupational level. Okay, we've seen that on numerous occasions. There might be a couple of companies that's currently undergoing an investigation, or maybe had an investigation the past couple of months, where the Department of Employment and Labour's inspectors hammer companies on. Why did you employ in this specific race and gender occupational level instead of the other occupational race and gender? Did you review your EAP targets? Did you review your EAP analysis? Did you work on highest underrepresented race and gender in that specific occupational level? Okay, so colleagues, it's imperative to note that before you employ and or promote any person in your company, please revisit and review your highest underrepresented races and genders. Please prioritize, as per the Government Gazette 1 August 2014, the Codes of Good Practice on how to prepare and implement your plan. You have to, and it's actually written in capital letters in bold, you must prioritize before you employ and or promote. Remember, just going back to the previous slide, if you do not have an EAP analysis in the EA12 format, it could result in an immediate referral to the Labour Court without giving a compliance order and or a written undertaking. It could result in an immediate referral. The same goes for your plan. Okay, so why do you do the analysis? You do the analysis to prioritize, and then you need to prepare and implement an employment equity plan on how you will overcome the highest underrepresented races and genders in the various occupational levels. The plan is done in the format of the EA13. You can later go onto our website and you will find the Gazette is called 1 August 2014 Codes of Good Practice. If you do not have a plan, it could result in an immediate referral. Section 21, you have to report to the Department of Employment and Labour. In other words, your EA2 and your EA4, usually, well, by law, the DEL online portal opens the 1st of October every year, and it closes strictly 12 o'clock the 15th of January the following year. Okay, so ladies and gents, please ensure that you submit your reports in time. Please do not wait until the 13th or the 14th of January. We found that a lot of times the system is then overloaded, so companies struggle to submit their reports. When we met with the Directorate of the Department of Employment and Labour, his name is Robert, he said, Peter, you know what, you had time from the 1st of October. So it's no excuse to say, but the system was offline the 15th of January, whatsoever the year is. Okay, so please don't wait until the 15th of January. Start and submit your reports as soon as possible. We did also, our senior management at EECMS did also meet with the newly appointed minister. His name is Mr. Tulas. And it was noted that there will never be an extension after the 15th of January. Please submit your reports as soon as possible. If there are JSE listed companies attending here today, you will need, if you are a public company, to publish a summary of the report required by Section 21 in your annual financial report. In other words, of your workforce, you will need to indicate that in your annual financial report, or it could result in a possible penalty. Section 23, designated employers. It's advisable that 6 months prior to the expiry of your current EE plan, that your company start to prepare a new plan. Okay, in other words, let's assume EECMS, our EE plan will expire the 30th of June 2020. Then we are already in process to prepare a new plan so that by 1 July 2020, we already have a new employment equity plan put in place. Section 24, designated employers. You have to assign a senior manager to ensure implementation and monitoring of your plan. Okay, maybe make a note of the following. It's not in my presentation. Maybe make a note of the following. Your EE manager must be a full-time employee in the company. It's not allowed to be a consultant like EECMS. It has to be a full-time employee. That employee must have the authority to implement employment equity and also have a direct and or open link to the CEO. The employment equity manager must also have relevant budget to ensure that his or her duties can be performed pertaining to employment equity. And number 4, the key performance indicators and or key performance areas of the EE manager must be stipulated and or noted in his or her contract of employment and or an addendum thereto. Section 25 of the Act, you have to display in your workforce where all the employees can see it, a summary of the Employment Equity Act, as well as the basic conditions. Colleagues, you will know that in your company, you will have those those A3 posters that's everywhere where all employees can view it. Okay, it's not allowed to be behind a closed door, maybe in the CEO's office. It must be where all employees can view the summary of the Act. The employer must establish and maintain records in hard copy for at least 5 years. Okay, when the legislation changed 2014, we met with the directorate and their team at the department, and we actually requested and said, but can we not go green with everything? Can we not maybe just have it on a system, on your intranet, on your portal, on your Dropbox, on your whatsoever? And the Department of Employment and Labour said, no, you have to maintain hard copy evidence of all your employment equity proceedings. As per Section 27, you will need to submit the EI4 to the Department of Employment and Labour. The EI4 details salaries and remuneration. That also needs to be submitted before the 15th of January every year. And then just to close off with the summary of the Act, as per Section 43 and 44, please, colleagues, ladies and gents, if your company undergo an investigation, whether it's procedural and or substantive, meaning a DG review, please ensure that you remain with the time frames that they give. Otherwise, they will tell you it's being referred to the Labour Court. In front of you, you can see our contact details. As mentioned, my name is Pieter. My email address is cp@eecms.co.za. Website www.eecms.co.za. I'm going to stop to share. We will have a Q&A session in a couple of minutes. What I'd just like to show you, a lot of companies ask me, but Pieter, why do you facilitate these meetings? Why is there no cost involved? What is the catch pertaining to having a webinar like this? And my answer to them is, you know what? This is our 5 minutes in terms of shop talk where we basically sell our services. Okay, so I just want to show the team a thing or two. Please remember, you can please follow our Twitter account. It is EECMS_SA for South Africa. EECMS_SA. Feel free to ask questions there. When we have future sessions like these, I will also keep everyone posted. And then I also just want to share the following. If everyone can see there at the top, our website address is eecms.co.za. And what I'd like to show everyone is, you will see in front of you, the tab is open under Associates. If you click on the Associates tab, you will see Mr. Charles Kinnear that will have a discussion on the coronavirus and the impact on employers and employees. His website address is on there. You will also see there's employmentequitynews.co.za. All the presentations being held today will be placed on employmentequitynews.co.za as well. In other words, the PowerPoint presentation that I've showed you just now is already on there. And then also eemasterclass.co.za. I will explain what that is about just now. Okay, so if you visit EECMS.co.za, you go to associates, everything will be on there. Then I just quickly want to show you what the e-masterclass is about. With regards to our business associates, we also provide companies and their employees with training on certain things pertaining to employment equity. I'm going to share the following video with you. It's just about a minute or so. Remember, the website address there is eemasterclass.co.za. Okay, then lastly, I want to show you something here as well. Just to close it off from my side. In front of you, you will see there's a screen, demo company. I'm going to log in. Okay, so what do? We utilize a system called eMaster. How do we operate? We do everything virtually for our clients. Okay, the same with the Zoom meeting we are currently holding. We provide training to our clients. We have the quarterly meetings with our clients, everything done virtually, everything done through Zoom. We request the company information, as you can see there. We do the setup for your company. We input your current EE plan. If you don't have a plan, we start with a new plan. And we also then input the CEO and EE manager. Once we obtain the information, you will see through eMaster. In other words, EECMS then basically becomes your off-site employment equity specialists and senior consultants, and we input the information here. Once we see, but listen, there must be an EE manager. I did explain it has to be a senior person in the company, a full-time employee, etc. Everything is then done through the system. Okay, as you can see, there's the appointment letter of the EE manager. Everything done already. This is a demo company. Dear David, it's with great pleasure to inform you, demo company has selected you as the EE manager, your occupational level senior management, African male, and your roles and responsibilities. And your EE manager also confirms what I've mentioned. You are a permanent employee of the company, you have executive authority, etc. To be signed off by the CEO. When we go to employees, so what happens? We request your employees in an Excel sheet format. Then we incorporate it into your profile before we do the handover to you. There's all your employees then. And as you all will be aware of, when you employ a new employee, you must have an EA1 document being the acknowledgement of that employee and the declaration, everything done through our online portal. You can also, when you'd like to search an employee, you can say, I want to see Aaron. You can see details. When you click on that, all the details of that employee will be listed there together with the fixed and variable remuneration as per the legislation that changed the 8th of August 2019. Remember, I mentioned to you that your committee needs to be in line with the constituency through the portal that we utilize. Your entire EE committee is drawn up in such a way that it's 100% compliance with the Act. If you put someone into your committee through eMaster, it will already give the appointment letter of that EE committee member, and it will delete the member already out of that specific race or gender or occupational level so that you cannot double count. So in other words, senior management, if I say assign somewhere here, immediately it will give me an appointment letter. The same goes for middle management, junior management, semi-skilled, unskilled. Once you have done that, your additional African male, colored male, Indian male, etc. And once you have assigned someone, you click on the acceptance form, which will say, I hereby accept, etc. And then you click on the appointment letter. Everything is done through our online portal in real time and immediate effect. Okay, this is just an example. So in other words, for attention, Mr. Ernest, letter of appointment of the committee representative, your occupation level is unskilled, you are an African male, and you are representing unskilled or African males or junior management, whatsoever the case may be. Workforce profiles, okay, for demo company, currently employing 1,314 employees, as you can see there. Okay, you can go back to any date. Let's say we're going back to 2016. The company employed 169 people. E-Master is written, you can backdate it from the 1st of January 1900. It's already written 40 years in advance pertaining to dates. You can then do the same for your disabled. So in other words, this has nothing to do with employment equity per se, but it's an extremely nice tool to have should your management maybe say, but how many people did we actually employ in 2014 on the 16th of April? And it will show you the figures there. You can do the same for your recruits. So in other words, you will be able to say from this date to that date, how many people did we recruit? The same goes for promotions. In the past 4 years, 3 months and 12 days, how many people did we promote? If you input the dates there, the system will calculate that for you. Okay. The same goes for terminations and skills development in terms of how many people receive training. Then, colleagues, just to show you here, this is the main thing pertaining to the Department of Employment and Labour. In front of you, you will be able now to see the EAP worksheet, okay, indicating the latest EAP targets. You will see there's male and female, African, colored, Indian, and white. We as super users have the authority as the targets change, we update our system, and you will have the latest updated EAP targets each and every day. This company, as an example, you will see the actual headcount is 1 African male, 1 African female. That 1 divided by the 2 in total gives you a representation actual of 50%. The department actually wants to see 43%, meaning an over of 7%. And it immediately determines your priority. Okay, so here you will be able to see that your priority number 1 in this demo company is colored male, because that's the highest underrepresented race and gender in top management. So now we go to the what if calculator. Okay, and the question is, okay, now we need to verify. We know that colored male is priority number 1, but let's have a look. What will happen if we, as an example, say we employ 1 colored male? In other words, this is just our planning purpose. If I say 1 colored male, immediately through the system we utilize, it shows you now priority number 1 would be the African male. And we say we're going to employ maybe 2 African males. Immediately, your first priority then becomes African female. Okay, so through the system we utilize, the Department of Employment and Labour's inspector will never be able to give you nonsense if you utilize this, because you're literally working and playing around with your priorities, and the system immediately determines where your highest priority is there. Of course, you'll be able to reset it, and of course, it will show you from top management, senior, middle, going down to your unskilled employees. When it comes to your E plan, we said, okay, thank you very much. We're going to employ 2 colored males as an example. Then you need to indicate here, okay, on top management, the first year of our plan, or the second, or the third, or the fourth, or the final year, it can only be between 1 and 5 years. We say, you know what, we plan to appoint 1 African male and or terminate or promote. Now we said, you know what, let's go to colored males. That's our first priority. We're going to employ 2 colored males. The question is, what is your strategy? Okay, you have to have non-numerical goals as well. And then the question is, but what's your strategy? And bottom line, what we have seen the past 12 years in business is that the question is, but Pieter, please give me examples. How do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, we're going to employ 2 colored males. We have to have a strategy. We don't understand what you mean. Do not worry. Through eMaster, there's numerous examples. Whatsoever you click on, it will pull through to your EA12. Then you have to have barriers, what I've mentioned. 23 possible categories. Then companies ask me, Pieter, we don't understand. What do you mean by barriers? Okay. Please, colleagues, when you submit your EA2 report, do not say that you have 0 barriers. Otherwise, the department will red flag your company and they will investigate. You have to have 3 or 4 barriers at least, okay? Because no company in South Africa is perfect pertaining to employment equity. So I ask a client, do you have barriers? Pieter, what are you talking about? Through this system, I'm not going to waste a lot of your time. You can see there are hundreds of examples for each possible category. Appointments. There's barriers there and examples and affirmative action measures. Whatsoever you click on, it pulls through to your EA 12 and 13. I'm not going to go through all of them, guys. Otherwise, I'm going to take another 8 hours. And then whatsoever you clicked on your barriers and in your E plan and your committee and whatsoever, and we assist with this entire process. Immediately here, you will be able to see your E plan in the correct format, EA13, with the Department of Employment and Labour's logo. Everything pulls through immediately in real time, based on whatsoever you have clicked. Here you will be able to see, we endeavor to appoint, we endeavor to promote, we endeavor to terminate. Whatsoever you clicked on, it pulls through. The barriers for demo company is pulling through. Your goals and your targets pull through immediately. Okay, you don't have to do those calculations. The system and EECMS, we do it for you. Your strategies pulls through. Everything, your committee, there's your committee and the roles and the responsibilities. Whatsoever names we clicked on, it pulls through in your E plan. Everything in real time and live. Senior E managers pull through. The statistics pull through to be signed off by your CEO. And just from my side to end, you will be able on this portal to load up to 100 users on your system. Okay, in other words, once we do handover, sometimes you have a senior HR official that has access to remuneration, but you maybe want someone else to work on the system. Then we upload someone else on here as a user. That person will then not have access to remuneration and or salaries. And then, of course, for authentication purposes and encryption purposes, when we manage your profile, you have your login with your password, and you can have a 2-factor authentication to say, you know what, I want to receive an OTP on my cell phone whenever someone tries to go onto the system. Then you will need to input the OTP number So in other words, we adopted the same system as the banks are using for safety and security purposes. Okay, so if anyone needs more information and the quoting on that, I can somewhere be bold and tell you immediately, you are more or less, for small companies, you are looking at 2,500 Rand per month. And the higher number of employees you have, of course, then gradually that monthly retainer becomes more. If you have or need any more information on that, pop me an email and I will be able to send you a quotation on that. Then just to finalize, I just quickly want to show that video again of 3.5 minutes. Maybe just to mention to everyone as well, if you go onto YouTube, you can make a note of this. If you go onto YouTube and you search EECMS, please subscribe to our channel, and then you will be able to download the meeting we had the 9th of April. And I will also talk to our production team later today so that they can just edit the video of the meeting today and then also place today's meeting onto YouTube. You just have to subscribe. You go onto YouTube, you search for EECMS, you will find us there, EECMS, subscribe, and then you will be able to download the video. You can also show it to your committee members, utilize and use it as training, no additional cost, it's free of charge. And then for me to sign off, I just want to show this 3.5 minute video again, and then I will give over to Mr. Charles Kinnear.
EECMS is introducing the first virtual employment equity compliance solution by taking your consultant online. Clients are no longer required to conduct face-to-face meetings with our consultants. Our virtual solution will allow clients from around the globe to interact, consult, and train with their respective consultants from the comfort of their own desk. With our web-based compliance services, your employment equity solution submissions and consultations will stay compliant as per the requirements of the Act, no matter where you are based. No more traveling or boardroom bookings. We bring the service to your desktop. Conduct conference calls with remotely based colleagues and superiors during the consult. Share live documents or screens to all attendees and consultants for brainstorming or clarification sessions. Audio visually record meeting discussions between yourselves and the consultant for references and notes. Join the web-based consultancy services today and comply with your employment equity services from the comfort of your own desk. Speak to your consultant for more information or contact our information center for details on the services rendered. EECMS, your virtual employment equity compliance management service. EECMS utilizes an online tool to ensure full and total EE compliance as per the amended Act. We ensure that you are in full compliance with the Employment Equity Act. We do it all. You just need to connect with us as we aim to become your go-to guy. We meet and consult via our virtual solutions. We implement the Act, and you achieve compliance. Employers with over 50 employees. Agriculture over 6 million turnover, mining over 22.5 million turnover, manufacturing over 30 million turnover, electricity, gas and water over 30 million turnover, construction over 15 million turnover, retail and motor over 45 million turnover and more. Eliminate penalties. Increase a triple BEE score, forming a sense of belonging to employees. Effective transformation. And promoting diversity. We submit the EEA2 and EEA4 reports on behalf of our clients, after approval thereof by the CEO or accounting officer. EECMS has a Level 4 broad-based Black Economic Empowerment rating. Our clients therefore qualify for 100% recognition when procuring from us. Our CEO has been involved in various marketing and communication entities. We have various EE specialists, including a compliance auditor with 3 years' experience at one of the Big 4 auditing firms. Our team has been involved in 62 DG reviews from 2017 to September 2019, with a 100% pass rate of companies not being referred to the Labour Court. Submissions of reports are done by a number of experienced data capturers, and we have a staff complement to ensure the successful submissions of all our clients. We currently serve more than 160 companies who employ anything between 6 to 12,500 employees. Our client base includes private companies, listed companies, close corporations, non-profit organizations, educational institutions, and government. Clients' annual turnover ranges from very little to more than 1 billion rand, and we have a client base throughout South Africa. EECMS, your Virtual Employment Equity Compliance Management Service.
Okay, thank you everyone for your time. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Charles Kinnear, which will have a very nice and legal discussion on COVID-19. And then I just also want to explain as a little bit of a bonus. After Mr. Charles Kinnear has spoken, then I'm going to invite Sister Shavandre. She's a qualified private nursing practitioner that has 8 years experience. She's one of 2 nursing specialists in South Africa with a master's degree in wound healing and tissue repair. She studied at Cardiff University of Wales. From my side, from EECMS, I will remain in this meeting. Thank you everyone for your time, really appreciate. Mr. Charles Kinnear, I will hand over to you now.
Welcome again to all the participants, and I'm not going to keep you very long. I think what I'm doing today is I want to summarize what we discussed the past 2 webinars in terms of relief to SMEs, businesses out there, and also just to help what I experienced with questions via email, via telecom, what the business South Africa want to know and want to say, we don't know what to do. And I could feel the emotions in the workplace also of the insecurity, especially, are we having another lockdown? I cannot tell you this. We were supposed to go back to work tomorrow. We're not going back to work tomorrow. We're waiting on the president, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa, to tell us about the liquor, if they're going to open it. I think there's a big audience for that. However, okay, my information sessions and presentations are all available on the website mentioned by Pieter du Toit, Employment Equity News. So if you want to go to the other ones, because every day or every session I change my presentation, because there's always some more questions that came through that whole week. Now, like I mentioned, there's a lot of emotion and question marks and retrenchment. I want to retrench staff, and I said, let's talk about the retrenchment, the process. First of all, it's a section 189 in terms of the Labour Relations Act, and you need to go through a thorough process before you can dismiss people or terminate the employment, softer to say, terminate the employment services. We do have remedies from government provided for us through various platforms that we can go and look into it. And you know, this question was not raised by just a small company, it was national companies coming from mine houses, financial institutions, small or big, security companies, you name it, that was questioning me over the week or 2. Now, I'm going to show you my presentation for today, and I hope it will bring you some more background onto what to focus on, instead of to say, I don't know. But at the end of the presentation, all my contact details are on there, and you're welcome to send me an email, question me, call me. I've got no problems. I had about 6 board meetings this past 2 weeks, 2 days, that I had to go on telecom to assist with questions that was coming from the board. So obviously, yes, there is things like that also coming up my way. And I entertained it. like Peter said, I think this is a time that we need to put not hands together, hearts together, and make this work. All right, my presentation, here we go, for today is, I'm saying it's COVID-19 to financial assistance in this webinar. We are looking comprehensively at all the possible financial interventions placed in action to assist in the COVID-19 pandemic. I especially kick off with two, the temporary relief scheme and a national disaster benefit. Right, there's again the financial assistance which we can have. The second one is the TERS, as well as then also your disaster benefit fund, which you can apply to. Temporary relief scheme on the left-hand side, national disaster benefit on the right-hand side of the screen. I did it on a purpose to show you what the pros and the cons of each of these schemes or benefits. So you can go and decide which one you want to apply for. Please remember, at the end of this whole presentation, I will have my contact details available. Send me email. And all companies don't have the same scenario. I've experienced this now for 2 weeks, and the questions are totally different. So bear in mind that it's rather that you interact with me personally via email. You can Skype also with me or telephone me, and we can assist with that. UIF assistance in operations. This is to explain to you quite in a very thorough way, giving you the email address where you need to go and apply for TERS, etc., and what do you require, and what's the maximum benefits of this whole scheme, and how to qualify for this. Then let's start with the financial sector, the banking. The Department of Trade and Industry and the Competition has passed regulations in the banking sector providing various exemptions. These will permit banks to work together to the benefits of small businesses, consumers, and firms in distress. So we heard about also this possible rate reduction that we're going to get soon. We might be hearing that tomorrow. So also some of the banks declared that they SASSwitch already removed SASSwitch from their ATMs. I think it's Netbank and FNB, on the correction, that they say, look, we are not going to charge you for bank fees when you go and withdraw. And so that is all, that is part to this whole process. Then there's still COIDA. Now, COIDA is something that we must still be reminded that we can use when an employee contracted the virus within the workplace. In Cape Town, there was a Shoprite Checkers closed down soon in Bayside, not far away from me, very scary. Then there's also the Pick n Pay in Brackenfell, no, correction, not Brackenfell, it's in Somerset Mall that was closed down. And there's a couple of Shoprites also that was closed down. So all those staff need to be checked, tested, and if one of them contracted then the virus within the workplace, the compensation fund will click in, and a normal process must apply here. The Department of Small Business Development, there was 5 million available for distressed SMEs. You can see they concentrate very much on the SMEs. I think they're not looking at your big international companies or so. I think there is resources for them. However, if you feel that you need to apply, apply. Employment tax incentives, there's the ETI, that's still in place. The Industrial Development Corporation, the IDC, there's also 3 billion rand that was set aside to assist with the small SMEs companies for support of them to carry on through this COVID virus. The informal sector support, there was a safety net created also for the like your spaza shops and that kind of things that can apply to that. They don't have the hardcore evidence as a company as such, but they are a informal sector producer of selling goods to the consumer. The National Disaster Benefit Fund, I did discuss it in the beginning, so this is very important that you go through the start of this presentation, because that will assist you very much. And you can see there's an allocation of 30 billion rand has been allocated to this fund. Then pay-as-you-earn provisional corporate income tax. Peter, yes, I did email you the email I received now recently of the link from the Department of Labor, Department of SARS, that was saying about the pay-as-you-earn tax reliefs, all those kind of things. Peter will also place that on the website so that you can go to the website, go onto that link, and then read what the Minister of Finance guides us on relief there. Okay, there's a solidarity response fund also, and that comes from the Johan Rupert, 1 billion rand, and apparently the applications amounted to 2.5 billion, and I'm talking on correction, that was just hearsay. I don't have evidence in front of me, but yes, there was 2.5 billion rand application worth of that. So they're filtering through that, and apparently it was not confirmed with me. Apparently they said payment will be successful already starting from last Tuesday this week. All right, so the Oppenheimers also then jump in, and also Mr. Mutsepe, he also contributed a lot of money in here. So yes, senior business people saw the crisis in South Africa and joined hands or heart in this pandemic. The South Africa Future Trust, there's also again the Oppenheimer family from their trust that they submitted for SMEs that they can apply for. Over 1 billion was donated. Again, we will see a lot of influx of applications. Obviously, it will go through merits and how successful your application is, how thorough it was done. Now, talking about all these applications and as such, the government applications, or these other applications, please do not edit anything of their templates they want to make use. Use their templates, fulfill to what requires to be put in there, and also your profile of evidence, make sure everything is to the T. Attach to that and send it off. To less frustration and question mark whatever fund you're going to apply to, it is important. There was one company that said to me, you know, the memorandum of agreement is not very kosher for me. And I said, you know, leave it as it is. I think it's a protection also for the government side of all the other funds, just a protection for themselves also, that no corruption can filter in. And you know, there is a lot of opportunist people that wants to gain money without working hard for it. That's unfortunately in the world is a trend. Then there is also South African Social Security Agency, which will be paying the pensioners a bit earlier, and I believe there's a top-up for some of the disabilities and also some of the people that are making use of this grant. So yeah, there is some relief for them also. Then yes, I discussed this, the TERS also. It's a very helpful process, this. The email address on there, you just send your email to them and they will reply with all the documentations that you require to fill in, and tells you clearly what to attach to it. And that is where your process then will start. The Tourism Relief Fund, I saw there was big brouhaha between AfriForum and the Minister of Tourism, and I hope they sorted out their nonsense. We don't have to go into court and to challenge each other for things like this in a day or in this time, which we are struggling to overcome a pandemic, which we don't even know when are we going to get the vaccine. And luckily for Sister van der Merwe, who's going to talk, maybe she can enlighten us on some information on that also. However, it was clear coming from the Department of Tourism, you can apply and you can submit your application as long as you are as long as you are committed to be compliant with all the laws in the workplace. Then there's the unemployment insurance fund claim. Now, this one, why I'm putting it up here, is when you need to, when an employee needs to go into quarantine. It can be anything between 14 and 21 days quarantine, and then you can apply, because the Act is very clear that for ill benefits, it must be at least 14 days plus that the person will be booked off for this quarantine. The quarantine, there's still the norm, of not a norm, the requirement to qualify for this, because we will call this as a special leave. This will falls under, not under a medical or your sick leave. This will falls under the unemployment fund that will pay that few days, 14 or 20, 21 days out. Now, on the special leave, and that is now when your employee is going into quarantine, the employee must satisfy the employer and also the UIF with a medical certificate and with the test results. In this pandemic, we must forget about POPI. POPI Act, it will surface again after this. POPI Act is there still for other things to protect. But when it comes to the pandemic virus that you contracted it, or you are contaminated with it, you have to disclose, and your medical practitioner have to assist the employer so that the employer can successfully apply UIF. UIF with TERS, with the Disaster Management Fund or scheme, and with the UIF, Department of Employment and Labour asked, please employers assist your employee with the application. They cannot be sent with their UI-19 to Department of Labour because Department of Labour is closed. We're doing all online. We're doing our remittance of the COIDA online. We're doing everything online, and it worked perfectly. And I do have a lot of contact numbers, not lots, but about 4 or 5, even with cell phone numbers. If you struggle with it, you can call them, and they are more willing to assist in any way. So you're not stuck alone out there. There's people to help you. Then VAT exemptions for essential goods on importation. That is also a gazette that came out. And you know, there came out so many gazettes this couple of 3 weeks. I've never seen this flying out like pancakes out of a pan. But yeah, I had to study it very, very quickly. There was no time to sit back and relax on this because I knew my employers, my clients, everybody's going to ask me questions and I need to be on it, spot on. Now, where I do not have clarity, I go to that department and I ask for the relevant information that I need to get. And I do get it. So, yes, and that's why I can do a presentation for you in a summary way. That time frame for the export of goods, you can go through that if that is anything that needs your attention or your assistance. And if you don't have clarity on that, please let me know. Just I mentioned about the gazettes. If you require any gazette, please pop me an email. I will send it to you. No problem. Okay, and there it is, my contact details. Please take it down. You're more than welcome to use WhatsApp also. I'm very flexible on that. And if I don't answer immediately, I will come back to you. I will return your call if I missed it. I've got only one phone. I'm not one who works with 2 phones. I believe in only one phone. So, yes. So from myself on this presentation, in a nutshell, I hope I entertained you with enough information that will help you in this whole process of COVID-19, and that we will at least get through this whole thing without any problems. Problem that I'm having on retrenchments, and if I can just quickly go through this whole thing. Retrenchments, like I mentioned in section 189, there's a process to be followed, and that process is very much sensitive of nature, and you have to do it to the T and correctly. Now, if you missed, you open your doors to go see yourself in a labor court or in a bargaining council or the CCMA, and if there's more than one being retrenched, obviously the jurisdiction must go to the labor court. So don't put yourself into a problem scenario with a quick retrenchment. There's nothing like a quick retrenchment. Really, there is not. Now, further also financially, I think your company will, if you're a shutdown company, you will have or need funds to start your operations after the lockdown. So why not use TERS? You must remember to use that one. Is also where we not laid off people temporarily, but also where we went on to reduce salary, because we can do a reduced salary, and then it can be top up with UIF, and that is through TERS. Don't be afraid to make an application. It's always good to know how far your application can go and can you be successful. If that's your opinion, go for it. Be strong and do it the best you can do. UIF, we're going to use it only in this pandemic period for ill benefit quarantine. That's a 14 to 21 days window period that an employee or a person needs to go and put them into quarantine. Retrenchment is, and the same applies also for incapacity. When it's an incapacity, permanent incapacity, is the same. I would rather then apply for ill benefits, put that person on ill benefits till after the pandemic or the lockdown, and then we can enter into a process where we requested prognosis and all that kind of things, and process the process of incapacity correctly. I mentioned about the templates of the government or other funds. Please do not tamper it. Listen to me. I will not give you bad information or advice. I'm telling you, please just apply your mind to what they require from you. Ensure your profile of evidence is correctly, and you can then submit your application online. Everything is done online. Remember, sick leave is still applicable here. If the employee exhausted already his sick leave, it's a discretionary process between you as the employer and the employee. Will you be granting this person and say, no, next time I will deduct it the moment your new cycle comes in? Is that agreement? And you sign an agreement. Remember, it's very nice to say we've got a gentleman's agreement, but paper speaks much harder and confirm everything that was agreed on. So rather do it in writing and let a party sign to it, and you know you're safe and sound. And from our side, I just want to conclude to say the no work, no pay, yes, it's applicable, but then we have to apply for TERS application. So no work, no pay. I was listening last night to a radio station, and the caller called in and say, we're from an international company, and we were told this afternoon that they're not going to pay our salaries end of the month. I'm very sorry to say that is not a process to follow. You need to consult, you need to tell your employee what is the process, which way are you going to apply for relief here for them, and how it's going to affect them or not affect them. And what's the pros and the cons, and then we can say, no, I'm not going to pay your salary at the end of the month. I had a company before the second lockdown. They informed the employees that they will pay their basic salary the end of April, and then came the second lockdown, and they say, wow, now we're affected by this whole process. And they showed me their 2 letters, and I said, well, the last letter you promised the basic salary. You can now go back and say, oh, we were not aware of the second lockdown. So unfortunately, we're going to apply for a process through the Department of Employment and Labor, through the UIF, and that we call TERS, and you will find money for the end of the month. So don't be worried. And then you do your application on their behalf. You will see also on my other presentations the requirement for each and every employee that you need to submit. All right. I see there's a lot of people asking me for my email address. Like I said, on the PowerPoint, the last page, all my contact details are on there, and you're more than welcome to contact me if you deem you need some more information or assistance, you're more than welcome. We're here to take hearts together, and not hands, but hearts, and fight this pandemic. It's somewhere in the air, we don't know. And very insecure time also for all employees, and I know employers also, especially the ones that close doors, the restaurants, all those. I was just listening to the amount of income that restaurants was getting per year in South Africa, to which is a huge injection into our fiscal as well as our financial, like taxes and that kind of things. So yes, closing them down, obviously SARS will feel it, definitely. So, well, we hope that we will get soon a relief somewhere to get us a vaccine so we can pass this pandemic. Thank you very much. You're welcome to post me questions. I will answer so long. Otherwise, email me or give me a call after the webinar. Have a great day and be safe, be sound, and take it in the heart. We're here to fight this pandemic. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Charles. You can maybe just make me the host there again on your side, please. As mentioned, yeah, Charles, thank you very much for your presentation. I also saw there's a couple of questions in terms of your email address and your contact details. Please remember, everyone, that if you visit www.employmentequitynews.co.za, all the presentations are loaded on that website. Charles's details are on there as well. Our details are there on there as well. If you go to www.eecms.co.za, you will also find that there's links under associates. Whatsoever link you click on, you will go to Charles's website there as well. Bottom line, www.employmentequitynews.co.za and or www.eecms.co.za. All the relevant information, all the presentations, all the contact details are listed on there. I would love now to hand over to Shavandra.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for attending today. It's always lovely to see how the participants grow. I'm Sister Shavandra. I'm an advanced wound care specialist. I practice in Pretoria. And what I want to talk to you about is a little bit of the effect of COVID-19 on the healthcare system and in wound care specifically. We always think that wound care doesn't really play a role, but we've been seeing a dramatic increase in homebound accidents where people don't have the opportunity to get access to go to a casualty department or emergency department where they can receive help because everything is on lockdown. We're only assisting emergency case patients or people with suspected with COVID-19. So what I do is I then create an online platform and a platform where you can actually get in contact with me so I can be able to assist you and guide you on how to manage these accidents at home without needing to travel to a casualty department. I'm going to do a screen share for you. So if we quickly just look at the basic facts. On the 31st of December 2019, the World Health Organization declared a pandemic. 26th of March 2020, we started our national lockdown, and at that stage, we had 243 patients infected. By the 2nd of April, the NICD updated that one symptom could be enough to have you tested for COVID. No longer do you need to have 3 symptoms. We also heard that our asymptomatic cases now have increased to a 21-day incubation period and not only 14 days. And our temperature monitoring is not as effective as we think it could be. This is usually the first guideline that we would use to suspect a patient to being COVID positive. But they've also found out that patients with chronic inflammation and other chronic conditions usually have an increased body temperature, and then this can lead to false monitoring. This morning, we had 2,506 confirmed cases, which is quite an increase from our last update on the 13th, and then our death toll has risen to 25. If we look at factors that create a susceptible population, we need to have a look at our intrinsic and extrinsic factors. So intrinsic, of course, are patients who are diabetic or have insulin resistance. These patients have a problem with their red blood cells. COVID-19 attacks red blood cells specifically. So they are very, very susceptible. Try and monitor your blood glucose levels, keep a stable blood glucose level throughout. That's just general health, but especially now with the COVID, try and maintain a good, stable blood glucose level. Our obesity and malnourished patients, they're also more compromised because they don't usually have the nutrients that's needed to build up a good immune system. Of course, all our patients who are immunosuppressed, those would be HIV and TB positive patients. Any patient with chronic inflammatory conditions, which includes conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis. Patients with open wounds are more susceptible as well because of their infection penetration. Any patient with an underlying infection or underlying condition. And then, of course, our elderly and newborn population is very, very susceptible. If we look at our intrinsic factors or our extrinsic factors, we have a big problem with certain belief systems that people do not believe in vaccination. So as soon as the vaccination will be available, we will have those groups of people that will not be doing the vaccinations, and this can also lead to an increased spread of the virus. Our economical status, people don't always have enough funds to be able to pay for medical care or health care that's needed. Those in occupations such as myself or nursing staff, cleaning staff that's working in hospital, we are overly exposed to getting this virus. We take that home with us and we can infect our family members. We look at our social behavior. People that are not obliging to the rules, they continue to drink, they continue to socialize and to mingle with each other. That can also spread the virus. We have poor physical hygiene. You need to maintain a good, clean home environment, wash your hands regularly. And then, of course, our patients who do not have access to care, those who do not have transport, those who live very far away that do not have access a nearby hospital or a testing center, you know that you can phone the NICD helpline, where they will then send out somebody to your house or to your workplace to do the testing for you. But our population-centered concerns is, this is the Maslow hierarchy. You will see that the top 3 bars have been scratched out, because at this stage, what we're looking at with our lockdown is that we are basically just providing to the physiological and the safety needs of each person. This means that we are not attending to things like love and belonging and or esteem and self-actualization. This can lead to severe depression, which then has other problems that it's keeping in store for us. So please, guys, reach out to those guys in lockdown that are staying alone, that are not have family members around them. Make sure that you're in contact with them, keeping yourself safe and keeping them safe as well. If we look at things that are contributing to our susceptible population, so we've been seeing, and this is what I've been seeing in my clinic, is increased home accidents. I get a whole lot of burn wound patients in. Children are not in school. Patients, children are at home. Parents are at home working. The child runs around. They pull the kettle off the table, get a burn wound. And that parent cannot necessarily take the child to an emergency department, because the emergency department will not allow them to come in. Not all of them, but this is the problem that we are facing at the moment. So what are you going to do? How are you going to manage this situation? Do you have enough stock at home to be able to help your child if there's a burn or a cut or an abrasion? And this is where we come in, so please feel free to save my details at the end of this presentation. You are more than welcome to get in contact with me. It's as simple as sending me a WhatsApp message or an email, where I can then assess the wound for you online, and then I can give you feedback on how to manage this patient at home. We also have a problem with our availability of care. Access to the emergency department is limited. It's people who actually have prolonged chronic conditions are not receiving the help that they need. So you will see that Discovery has now also started to fund online consultations. So please, guys, make sure that you do get in contact with your general practitioner, that they would be able to assist you online, and your medical aid will cover that in full. If we look at some feedback from our patients with our in-hospital patients, these patients verbalize that they are scared, they have a fear of the unknown, they're not allowed to have any visitors, they're restricted to their room, they're more susceptible to the condition due to their underlying conditions, and then of course they get depressed because they're not allowed to see anyone. For our outpatients, they feel they are more susceptible because they are traveling around. They have a concern for their family and for exposure because they are moving around outside. You know, it's the fact where we would always say it's not necessarily the drunk driver that makes the accident and dies, but it's the innocent family that's on the road too. And that's the same problem that we're having with this condition, is we have people that are not obliging to the rules, not wearing their masks, walking around with gloves in public areas, spreading the virus, and you that is complying to the rules will actually contage it and then take it home to your family. We also have a problem with having access to personal protective equipment. So please, guys, work sparingly with what you have. It is not necessary to walk around with gloves the entire day. It is not necessary to use alcohol hand rub on your gloves. Please, guys, your gloves are permeable. If you use the alcohol hand rub on top of the glove, you will actually break down the permeability of the glove, and that would actually make you more susceptible to getting the virus. So do not alcohol spray your gloves. Wash your hands, alcohol spray your hands, and then don your gloves. When you're done doing what you're doing, remove them and get rid of them appropriately. If we look at our prevention methods, at home especially, you want to continue with your social distancing. You want to adhere to the lockdown regulation, maintain good physical hygiene, a regular hand wash, and this can be used with normal soap and water. You don't have to use an antimicrobial detergent. And then you also want to limit your shopping and clean your products when you do go in. Also, please, guys, make sure that you are wearing your face masks at all time. This little picture here is only an illustration of how to don your protective gear and how to take it off. So I know you are not using all of the protective gears here, but I would recommend that you wash your hands, use your alcohol hand rub, then don your gloves. And when you are applying your facial mask, make sure that you only touch the inside of the mask. Do not touch the outside of the mask, okay, because this would just spread germs. Make sure that you use the little elastic bands that's around the ears or the ropes only when you are handling your mask, and you can then place that mask into a plastic bag when you're done with it so that you don't recontaminate it all the time, okay? Please use it when you go out of your house. So this is just a quick illustration, and my last slide of this is a 20-minute countdown. So we had a lot of people in one room that was coughing and talking, and the red dots that you are seeing would be the example of how long the virus actually lingers in the air. So this was after 20 minutes, you can still see how many of the droplets were still in the air. So when you do come into a room space where there's other people, please make sure that you wear your mask. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. This is my contact details. You're welcome to save it. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email or a WhatsApp. We're always available. Thank you, Pieter.
Colleagues, I also received a WhatsApp now. A lot of people asking for the COVID-19 policy. So Andre, thank you very much. Please bear in mind that the COVID-19 policy is placed on our website. It's also placed on www.employment equity news. Okay, so when you visit that site, you will see there's not only the COVID-19, okay, there's quite a number of legislations that came through. There's all the presentations that we have discussed between EECMS as well as Mr. Charles Kinnear as well as Sister Shivandrai. All the presentations are on www.employmentequitynews.co.za. Yeah, as you go through the website, you will find all the policies there. Then I've also seen that there's numerous consultants pertaining to employment equity that also joined this meeting. What I want to tell all the consultants attending to this meeting, please colleagues, bear in mind, to the consultants, we love networking. Okay, so we are resellers of the eMaster platform. In other words, all consultants are welcome to contact me. The system will be available to your clients as well. You are more than welcome to please pop me an email. Let's liaise with one another and let's consult and let's see where everyone can win. Okay, I see then, yeah, I just quickly want to see there's another couple of companies attending or admitting now. Charles, between myself, you and Sister Shavandra, quickly want to see there were a couple of questions. Okay, please bear in mind the questions that we are not able to answer, pop us an email. I see there's a question from Paul, let me just quickly go up here. No, SARS is still penalizing you 10% on 20% not paid if you only pay 80% and charge you interest. Mr. Kinnear, I think this might be a question for you. I don't know whether it's a question or a statement. Charles, are you still there?
Yes, no, I could not get to the question. However, I can answer. There is the email that I supplied with the link from the Minister of Finance to actually help us with questions like that. And that's why I gave that link so everybody can understand it. I'm not very much of a CA, not at all. However, I try to accommodate some of my employers with information that is relevant for them. So please go onto the website. It's provided by Pieter and you will find it there. It's an easy link that you can get and open up.
Thank you, Charles. Then someone tries to mention, I heard the cut-off for Solidarity Fund was the 6th of April. The SAFT says it's for employees of SMMEs, not actual SMMEs. Is this correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay, then I see a question from Monday. The 20% payers you earn reliefs only from the April return, which is due by the 7th of May, not the March return. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Hello, Charles. I've already handed in UIF TERS or TERS yesterday via email following guideline. I received an email explaining how to submit online. Should I now again submit the same documents online?
Yes, please follow the online system. You have to apply for online. I did send out a message saying, please apply online.
Okay, then Charles, can you please advise what the company can do if the production has gone very down due to the pandemic? Can we send some employees on leave?
Yes, you can send people on leave. However, we must understand it must be by agreement. I had a similar question yesterday, and what I advise is there is companies that close down in December, specifically in your construction and building environmental sector. You must remember not to expedite or use all their leave, and rather consider not sending them on leave, but rather apply through TERS for that payment that can follow successfully through that, instead of using their leave. Because the leave, to use their leave, you know, if I don't agree to go on leave, I don't agree to go on leave. And what can you do? You can't discipline me for that. So if in your case, your production is very down, say about 70% of your production, you can say who stays and who not. That's why I refer to a temporary layoff. A temporary layoff, you can apply for one of the two relieves that I explained in the beginning of my presentation. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Charles. If not, then please feel free to pop Charles an email. Is there any relief for ECB centers, since they are non-profit organizations and do not fall under SMMEs?
Yes, you must still apply through the whole process and declare that you are a non-profitable organization and that you need to lay off people because of they are maybe not essential services or anything like that.
Thank you for that, Charles. I also have a question here. How long are you able to reduce salaries?
Well, it all depends on this pandemic and also versus the production. You must remember, take for instance a big place like a mine. To start the production up again, it is not switch on the light tomorrow morning and everything is running 100%. No, there's certain departments that will start every day, coming a new department on and on and on. So the temporary layoff can be a period of 3 months. Remember, this TERS is for 3 months that they can pay the wages to the person that's affected, the employee that's affected.
Thank you for that, Charles. I see here's a question. Do we need to register on employmentequitynews.co.za to be able to see the links and the presentations? Now, everyone, you don't need to register or anything. If you go to employmentequitynews.co.za, you can literally just download the information and the policies and the presentations that is free of charge to all the attendees. This question, can a company purchase e-master software? Yes, please, everyone. Pop me an email. I will give the relevant information through to you. Is there any relief available to independent contracts who do not have a business register, Charles?
Unfortunately, you need to have been, because if you go in, you apply, first of all, for the permit, they will tell you they need your company registration number. So if you're a consultant in any respect or finance or anything like that, but you don't have a registered company, you cannot apply for that, unfortunately.
Charles, I've got a question here from Mpilu. Can Charles please explain the ill benefit?
Okay, the ill benefit is when an employee must go in quarantine, or any employee who's been booked off for more than 14 consecutive days, then the employer may apply for a UIF relief, provided that the necessary documents is attached to that. For instance, from the doctor to confirm that this person will be placed under quarantine or off sick for more than a period of 14 days.
Thank you, Charles. Okay, then I've got a question here. What happens when you have a group of companies which are managed as SBUs, small business units, but they fall under the main company with its own registration number, VAT number, a pay-as-you-earn number? PK, to answer your question there, out of an employment equity point of view, remember one thing, we are referring here to most probably a holding company with relevant subsidiaries. So the question would be, is the subsidiary deemed a designated employer? Okay, if not, then that subsidiary under the holding company does not need to comply with the legislation. Okay, so you basically refer at the end of the day to the registration number as well as the pay-as-you-earn number on that particular company. Then I have a question here from Tobuzani. Can you just confirm the time the virus will stay in the air? Shavandra, are you still in?
Yes, I am. Okay, so
sorry, Shavandra, can you just confirm the time the virus will stay in the air? Does this mean that the workers going to work are at risk of getting the virus?
Okay, so the last slideshow that I showed you is particles that remain in the air containing the virus and or other viruses. So that is in a unventilated room. Yes, the particles can up to 20 minutes, even longer, still hang in the air. Any person that is in an enclosed area and in connection with other people in the room will be susceptible to the virus. This is an airborne virus. So you need to, and it spreads with droplets. So you need to make sure that you're wearing your protective gear at all times. If you're getting into a car and there's another person, or into a room and there's another person, make sure that the area is well ventilated and that you are wearing your mask. That's the guidelines. And if you do that, if you follow them, you will be safe.
Thank you very much for that, Shavandra. I have a question here. If we are a level 2, I would assume a level 2 BEE service provider, do we need to register for employment equity? The answer is you will have to verify the number of employees and the industry that you operate in. Remember, The Employment Equity Act and the BEE legislation are two completely different acts from one another. Then I have from TERS, if your company is still paying salaries, Charles, in full of for April, but we cannot afford it end of May if the lockdown is extended, do we revise our TERS application?
Oh, indeed, you have to do so. If you cannot pay after April, maybe you have some fund that you can use for this payment of April, but not for May, then obviously you can still apply for that. And I would say do it now. That's very important.
Thank you very much for that, Charles. Then I've got a question here from somebody. I'm on the employmentequitynews.co.za website. I cannot find a place of where to download the presentations. Can you maybe direct me? Somebody to answer you there. You know what? The past couple of weeks we've loaded numerous policies and numerous presentations, etc. As you scroll down, you will see. For employment equity, for that matter, there's one stating, I think 30th of March, if I recall correctly. Everything is there. I did verify and relook this morning. Everything is there. You must just go throughout the website. Everything is there. And then I've got a question from Nola. I would like to know if we need to apply every month for the employees' UIF. I heard that it is payable for 3 months. We will definitely not have to work for all of them after lockdown. It will take some time to get the guest house going.
No, you don't have to apply for UIF every month. You apply for TERS once, and once you're up and running, you declare that you're up and running and you're back to normal, and they will stop in the period of that 3 months. If you're within a month, you're all right, and you say, well, the second month you don't have to pay, then it stops there, because then you start paying your employees yourself, because your industry or your business is in operation.
Thank you, Charles. And then just a quick one: where can one apply for a permit to work, for example, practitioners?
Well, you have to go for permits to apply for that. First of all, you must have a business registration number. Secondly, you must go onto the CPIC webpage, or the other portal is BIS portal. So that's the other portal that you will see. There's a red label that you need to click on for permits.
Thank you, Charles. We are an essential service company in the food retailing industry. Some employees were in contact with stores that has closed their doors. The employees were told to go into quarantine for 14 days. Do we still apply for TERS for these individuals affected?
Those 14 days, you don't apply for them through TERS, you apply it through UIF. UIF will, under ill benefits, remunerate them.
Thank you. If we, as an example, cut an employee's salary from 30,000 Rand to 20,000 Rand, would they still qualify for the TERS benefit, seeing as their salary is still more than the 17,712 ceiling? If so, how will it be calculated?
Okay, yes, the threshold is there. It is 17,712 Rand per month. So obviously your employee are falling outside of that protection. It's only applicable for people on the threshold or under the threshold that will benefit through the scheme, unfortunately, yes.
Okay, in case after lockdown the company feels to start again, what will be the benefits of the employee employed by the company?
Obviously, on the lockdown, we apply for TERS. So TERS will pay out to the employees. If we start operation, the employees will be called back to operations, back to the business, and everything will be normal as normal. But like I said, you could split them because of a big institution. You will have departments that kick in every day or every second day, and there's a delay of bringing everybody into the workplace. But the normal benefits will be between employer and employee, and according to legislation.
Thank you for that. Then I have a question here from Marco. Charles, I think that it's directed to you. We are an essential services company. We had to split the team in half due to social distancing. So green team works today, blue team works tomorrow. I was advised to claim TERS for other days not worked under reduced hours. I will only know at the end of the month who worked and who didn't. How do I apply for TERS? Do I apply for the full of April? Because I don't know exactly who worked that month or day.
Okay, yes, for the day's shortfall, this is basically reduce or temporary layoff or a reduce in salary or reduce in work and then becomes no work, no pay. So I would say that you must be proactive and work out a schedule for each month now coming, how your staff is working. But the application will guide you thoroughly with the attachment, how to put it to them to say, you know, every second day they're not working and I cannot pay them for not working. So that will be good to apply according to that. But your roster of your staff is very important that you can submit it as part of the evidence.
Thank you for that, Charles. And then from Werner, if we apply for ill benefit from UIF for employees put under the 14-day quarantine, does the UIF pay the employee, or does the company need to pay that? Does the company pay the 14 days, or does the UIF pay to the employee?
Now, UIF pays like the normal claims of UIF directly to the employee.
Well, ladies and gents, colleagues, thank you very much. I think the majority of questions were answered. Again, as mentioned, please, if you have any more questions, please visit www.eecms.co.za. All the links of the relevant people are on there under Associates. Click on the link, you will be redirected to either Charles's website and or Employment Equity News and or EE Masterclass. Also, please visit YouTube, type in EECMS, subscribe to our channel. Everything will be uploaded onto YouTube as well. I hope we answered the majority of the questions. I see a lot of people saying thank you, thank you. There's one question, kind advice on payment of stipends to learners not having contract time. Shireen, maybe I do not really understand the question. They kind advice on the payment of stipends to learners.
Peter, I think that comes from the SETAs. SETAs giving a stipend to the employer to pay the stipend to the learner, the in-house learner. And I think it's going with agreement between the SETA and the employer who facilitate this in-house training.
Thank you very much for that, Charles. Hopefully it did answer the question. Ladies and gents, colleagues, if not, feel free, visit any of those websites that I've mentioned, and we will report it back to you. I'm going to end this session now. Thank you very much for your time. And from EECMS, Mr. Charles Kinnear, Sister Shavandrai, thanks a lot. Be safe, and we'll talk soon.
EECMS, your virtual employment equity compliance management service.